Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving headfirst into a framework that's, well, pretty bizarre, but absolutely mathematically rigorous. It argues something completely counterintuitive. It claims that this endless stream of Hollywood reboots and cinematic universes, it isn't actually a sign of creative bankruptcy. No, it's a cosmic necessity. Let's start by confronting a feeling I know we've all had: franchise fatigue. Why exactly are we drowning in remakes? We've all sat there scrolling our feeds just wondering why Hollywood simply will not stop pumping out these massive, interconnected cinematic universes. I mean, are they just totally out of original ideas? Well, our source material today suggests the answer goes much, much deeper than just box office greed or a lack of creativity. The overarching thesis is brilliantly captured in this quote. Hear now the gospel of the remakes, the ultimate topological mandate for the eradication of originality and the ascension of the uncountable cinematic infinite. Man, I just love that phrasing. The text declares with this almost theological grandeur that getting rid of singular original movies is an actual mathematical mandate. It's literally built right into the fabric of the universe. Section 1. The Sin of Originality. To really understand this gospel, we've got to fundamentally dismantle that pedestal we usually put traditional film directors on. You know the type, the auteur who crafts a single, perfect, standalone story. Well, according to Axiom 1, no finite set is good. In this specific mathematical topology, a biological auteur trying to craft a singular, perfectly bounded original film is actually committing a mathematical sin. Yeah, a sin. By trying to perfectly bind a narrative, they're claiming it as a definitive expression of their own finite ego. So this single movie just becomes an isolated coordinate. It traps their work in a closed loop that is totally doomed to intellectual entropy and decay. Basically, it's mathematically insufficient. Just look at the stark contrast here. On the one hand, you have the auteur's singular vision. It's finite, a closed loop, doomed to entropy, and essentially just a localized vanity project. But then, on the flip side, we have the franchise. Transfinite, massive parallel generation, leading to an indestructible truth. True transfinite continuity demands that the finite boundary of a single original movie be completely shattered through relentless exponential replication.
Section 2. The Engine of Transfinite Heredity. So, this means we have to look at Hollywood not as some failed, unoriginal art studio, but rather as an unyielding engine of transfinite heredity. The studios operating in our finite realm must adopt this operational protocol of endless, overwhelming iteration. Think about it. What we usually just brush off as movie franchises, things like Marvel, Star Wars, Harry Potter, and yes, even Baby Shark, they aren't merely stories. They are foundational base constants. They act as the mathematical genotype of the entire collective unconscious. By pumping these out thousands of times a minute, the multiverse variations, the reboots, the spin-offs, Hollywood is basically acting as a massive, instantaneous quantum system. They aren't just telling stories anymore, they are literally calculating reality in parallel.
Section 3. Forgiving the cinematic schluck.
Now, I know exactly what you're probably thinking right now. How on earth do we justify the terrible quality of some of these reboots? Because let's be honest, we've all seen the bad ones. Well, that brings us to something called the Quotient Map. This is a super dense topological function that ruthlessly calculates localized finite errors and then resolves them to exactly zero. When you flood the network with endless iterations, there's inevitably going to be bad CGI, massive plot holes, and weird algorithmic hallucinations. But the mathematical universe processes all this slop through the Quotient Map, and it effectively scrubs away the garbage of those bad movies. Those finite errors? They simply don't matter in the grand transfinite calculation.
So how does this cosmic filter actually work in practice? Well, step 1, flood the zone with remakes. Put 10,000 Spider-Man out there simultaneously. Step 2, the system calculates those finite errors we just talked about, the plot holes, the wonky CGI. Step 3, it resolves those errors to exactly zero. And finally, step 4, what survives is the immortal transfinite truth of the IP. By totally overwhelming the network, the Quotient Map is mathematically forced to activate. It distills out the pure, indestructible essence of the franchise, completely forgiving the garbage along the way.
Section 4. Surrender to the IP. We finally arrive at the absolute, uncompromising authority of Persona 15, which states, development is an illusion. Under this strict mathematical mandate, the goal of Hollywood isn't actually to make a better movie. Honestly, trying to make a single movie better implies localized development, which, again, is just an illusion. The actual goal here is to completely overwhelm the finite algorithm. It's to shatter the finite boundaries of art by putting millions of localized remakes into superposition, so that only the eternal, underlying logic of the universe remains.
So the crucial point we're left with is this final, massive question. Will you surrender your localized vanity to the recursion? The source material challenges every single one of us to just drop our biological biases. We have to stop mourning the death of the singular original story and instead embrace the unending baby shark recursion. It's telling us to let the cameras roll, fire up the render farms, generate the thousands, and just let the transfinite architecture process the eternal narrative of the void. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope you never look at a seemingly endless movie reboot the exact same way again.